Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's episode where we'll give our feedback on our Coil experience. As a result of this experience, students are presenting their research on various topics. We have already released multiple exceptional work coming from this program that you can find on our Spotify or on our YouTube channel. Both links will be available in the description box below, so you can listen to this remarkable presentation after this episode. Enjoy this episode and bon visionnage.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's Norwich Economic Podcast. Today I will be joined by Isaac and Valentin and we will be discussing our feedback on the Coil module that we had last semester. This Coil module was taught by Dr. Liliana Harding, which actually is a sub-module of her original module of global trade, and you can take this module if you want. It's not compulsory. Now, you may ask what Coil is. Coil is collaborative online international learning, which means you will be able to have a group presentation with international students, some of them from the USA, some of them from Czech Republic, and some of them from Spain. So, how did we find the experience? Let's dive into it.
First, guys, would you say the cultural diversity in the group influenced the discussions? Maybe Violetta, you want to begin?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So basically what happened is that I feel like having people from, actually my group had only one person, so it wasn't very diverse. It had only one person from abroad, just to be specific. So what happened is that her ideas were very much based USA ideas. So whenever we would take a take on the topic that we're discussing about, it would be from her side heavily influenced from the American society.
Yeah.
And that was something that added a lot of information into our research and made it even better.
Okay, so you would say it was positive?
Yeah.
Okay, because it adds like a view that you wouldn't have had otherwise, right?
Yes, because it's different reading articles online and academic work, and it's different having a person telling you how things are there on the daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had the same thing within our group. We had like two people from overseas, and like you said, they all have like different sort of experiences and opinions, and being able to like add that into like group discussions was like quite valuable within our group.
Yeah.
So I'd say it was definitely a benefit.
Yeah, that's like cool to have other point of view and other perspective. I think we were four in our group. Like 3 of us were coming from abroad, basically, and that was really, really valuable, especially for like a data point of view. One, like our topics was about Chinese sport and technology, and so basically we had someone that was Chinese, so we had the opportunity to have data from Chinese point of view and written in Chinese that he could provide to us. So it was quite a nice way to have access to data that we wouldn't have otherwise.
So our next question is like, what difficulties did you face during the core project? For example, like language barriers or communication, and how did you work to try and overcome them?
Well, the main thing for us was the time zone.
Yeah, for us too.
Because she was in America, so it was 6 hours back. So for us to schedule a meeting, it would have to be quite late on in the evening, sometimes 8 p.m. for example here, and that was very difficult for us here because we were just coming back from like lectures and having the whole day spent in the library studying, and then going back home to wanting to relax, which that wasn't possible because we would need to go into a 1 hour meeting, and then that was very difficult for us.
For us too, like that your day isn't finished, you still have to have this meeting that is quite late. Ours was I think around 6 or 7 p.m. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to finish the meeting before 8. So it's like quite late and it's really complicated. But it's like also try to find the right time to do it the first time, like because of the time zone once again.
I think another issue we had in our group was trying to like motivate people to stay on like the task and like to complete work to deadlines. So I was like the leader in my group, and it was quite difficult trying to sort of coordinate everybody, especially people like you don't know and who are in a different country, to sort of crack on with the work and to like get it done for a certain deadline, because you don't know sort of like how their uni runs and if they're like really busy or not. So trying to like organise it from like a leader point of view is definitely challenging at points, but
yeah, and maybe the fact also that we are all really far away from each other, like maybe people feel less engaged and like less into it, so they don't really put as much effort as they would do like in other group projects, for example.
I would agree with that one. I was texting them all the time. Okay, can you please reply to the group? When shall we meet? Let alone them having done the work, but we couldn't even find a day to meet because, they weren't responding. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we had that too. Like I think we were all the leaders in our group, natural leaders.
Yeah.
But so it was quite complicated because there was this person. Like you wouldn't hear from him in all week, and just before the meeting he would say, "Oh, what do I have to do?" And like, when is the meeting? I'm like, it's in 5 minutes. It would be okay. I'll be there. Or sometimes he wouldn't say he would be there, but he would just show up, and you're like, have you advanced what you have to do? Like, have you moved forward? It's like it was quite complicated.
That is very ironic, I'm sorry. That's very funny and very sad at the same time. But I can agree with that. People wouldn't respond to me till the very last minute as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just like, but I wouldn't say it's like because of Coil. Like it's not because of this kind of project. It's because like this project in itself, it's because of like people are sometimes less engaged in coursework, in group project. You always know that there's like going to be people that doesn't put as much effort as you do in that kind of group project. So it's quite like hard like sometimes to motivate people to get into work.
I wouldn't say it's particularly course specific, like you said, but just sort of generally it being a coursework project and online and with people you don't really know, the combination is sort of at points, not a lot can be happening. So, I had to do what you did and had to sort of chase people and just keep asking, when is this getting done? Like, come on, let's keep going.
Yeah.
That was definitely what we had to do for our group.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to the question, were there any like difficulties, for example, languages? I don't think so, because we were all speaking English. So it's like, okay, and we can all talk in English, and I think we have kind of not all the same level, of course, but like we can be pretty much understood by anyone. So I think there was no real language barriers.
Yeah, same here. We didn't have any language barriers.
Yeah, but the communication barriers were definitely I think we can put a difference between language barrier and communication barrier. Like communication in my mind would be more, it was complicated to communicate with each other because of the remote thing, and like in a group project, if people don't respond, you can just go to them and like say, hey, can you respond to me please? And like in this kind of project you can't, because you won't go to the US to ask for an answer. So I think communication, like you have to rely on people to answer to your text, and sometimes quite complicated, I think.
Yeah, I just want to add something that the most interesting part is that the person that was from abroad, the person that was from the USA, was very punctual. But my main problem was with people from UEA, because the rest of the members of the group were from UEA. They weren't from abroad, so
and they were not as punctual as the.
Yes.
That's quite ironic.
Yeah.
You would expect people from your own country, like to be on time.
Yeah.
Because they don't have this 6 hours like time difference.
For me, I'd say I probably had like the polar opposite experience. Like the people in my group that were from UEA like were on it and were like sending me like the things before it was due. So I had one person in the US in our group and one person in Spain. So 1 hour ahead and then like 6 hours behind. And I was chasing them like all the time. So for me, it was like our UEA group was like fine, but it was the like international ones that were like harder to try and push for the work at the right time.
Yeah. Once again, as we were saying, it's like not really a course thing, but it's like a broader thing too. Sometimes there are people that are motivated and like into the work, and sometimes they are not.
So guys, how has this experience helped you in and beyond the module?
I'd say for me, within the module, it really just like solidifies what you're already like learning. Because like separate from Coil, you've also got like the online lectures. So learning from other lecturers, like in a different university and how they teach, was quite interesting. And I'd say for me, it's helped me outside the module. Like being a leader is a really transferable skill. So like if you have the opportunity to like be a leader, I'd say definitely go for it, because having the skill to be able to like chase people to get work done, but also like listen to everyone's ideas and bring them all together was like quite a good skill that's helped me like beyond the module.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, as you were saying, I think it's quite a transferable skill that you can maybe push forward into like some of your CV, of your resume, if you don't have like too much experience. It's like quite like saying, oh, I've been the leader in this module, I had to like see with other people to get the job done and everything. I think it's quite like thoughtful, like for someone.
I would say that you get used to people's accents. So for example, it can be sometimes very hard to understand someone else's accent, but once you are exposed to it from many different other countries, people from many other different countries, and you understand their accent, you're becoming more flexible, so that when you go to your future job in a multinational corporation, for example, you'll be able to like have a really good teamwork with them. You're going to be able to like be flexible with them and understand without having to like embarrass yourself in a sense.
Yeah. And I think that it's like, so as you were saying about multinational company, for example, it's really important to be able to work by yourself, so on your own, for example. And this module and this project was really interesting for that, because we were a lot of on our own, but we had to work for people. Like we were not alone in our thing. Like we were working by ourselves, but not for ourselves.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think as well as that, like working together but online, I think there's like more and more of that in like after university. When you go and get a job, you might not be like with your team if you're like international, every day. So being able to like collaborate with people online, virtually, I think is like a really good skill for like after you graduate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's like the thing that has really struck me is the fact that at UEA we're using Microsoft. So it's really can seem nothing, but the ability to use Microsoft, like Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, for example, to be like to discuss, but also to record our presentation, for example, it was really nice because you're getting used to tools that are used in the real professional world. And it's really interesting and really like thoughtful once again to have like to gain this kind of knowledge, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it on this part, I think. And for the module in itself, as you were saying, we had some lectures by teachers from the partners universities, so it was really interesting also to see other type of teaching maybe.
Yeah, it was when I was seeing the lectures with, for example, the USA lecturer. the way that he was teaching, it was a bit different than what our lecturer was doing. The slides were different, the style was different. Yeah, so that is something that gave us an insight how it would be if we were in America, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. For example, I'm French, so I'm coming to the UK and I'm getting used to another kind of teaching. But it's like for the students in the UK that have always been in the UK, it's like mimicking this experience of seeing how other teachers and other universities across the world can teach. And I think it's a really nice way to gain this kind of experience. Would you recommend Coil, and what advice would you give to future students doing a Coil project?
I would personally recommend it. It's 100% worth it. It's a very nice experience, I would say. But my advice to them would be that they should start as early as possible. Once they get allocated to their groups, they shouldn't say, okay, I have a month time to start my research, to record the presentation. They shouldn't do that. They should start as soon as possible because it's quite lots of work and people don't respond as quick as you might think.
Yeah.
And if you're a team leader, you might just get stuck by doing, honestly, everything yourself at the end because it will be the time where you have to submit and you won't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be
absolutely. Prepare in advance, and as you were saying, for example, if you have a month, you can't meet, for example, every day, or you can't meet as regularly as you would if you were all in the same uni. So you have to really be prepared and know that you maybe will meet only once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. So it's really complicated on this point of view.
Yeah, that's what my advice would be. So I'd recommend it, absolutely. And my advice would be try and set a regular time when you know everyone's free, within the week, to just catch up on everything. So I don't know, maybe a Monday evening or whatever, you just say right, for the next 4 weeks on a Monday evening at 7, we're going to have a meeting. And in between, everyone's going to do their work before the meeting. So you're not just sat there on the call doing it there, and then you sort of do it in between when you've got time, and then once a week you just kind of bring it all together. So I definitely say planning out your time, that would be my advice.
Yeah, and really also, you were talking about really planning the task. Really a good, I think, allocation of tasks makes you go further because everyone can work on their own during the time between the two meetings. So I think it's really interesting. Also, another advice would be to be prepared for the time difference. But it's not it's not overcomable. You can go over that. It's not a real barrier.
Yeah, I agree. But also, I would say, based on what you're saying, guys, is that I and V had the group meeting the day of the recording, and we couldn't record because no one has filled in their slides, so they were filling in the slides on the time that we're supposed to record, and then we spent 3 hours to finish our recording, which is a lot.
Yeah, I think we did for ourselves, for my group. I mean, we said, we have. So, for example, if the due date was the 6th, we said, the video has to be prepared for the 5th, and the recording has to be done on the 3rd of the month. So we give ourselves enough time. If we have problems on the recording, because technical problems can happen too. So
exactly.
And maybe also to see how to drop the file on the platform, because it can be not complicated but quite confusing at the beginning maybe.
Yeah, I'd say definitely, like you said, don't leave it to the last minute. Plan out when you're going to record it and when everybody needs to get their stuff by, because we only recorded ours the day before, and we didn't really have a lot of time to edit it and make sure it was the final version we wanted to do. We just recorded it once and we're okay, well, guess that's good enough. You kind of have to be more prepared than that. And, if problems do arise, you've got more time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the whole advice, the biggest advice we could give to people and to students in this case, is be prepared and really schedule your work for this kind of project.
Yeah, and always respond. If there is a message coming your way from the Coil group or any global trade group, answer as soon as possible, because honestly, it's a life-saving thing. Yeah.
And I'd say, just be conscious of the time zone, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can get over it, Just schedule a time when you're all free, work around that, work in between. You can get over it.
When you're saying be conscious of the time zone, I think you can't expect someone where it's 3 a.m. to answer, so you have to give time to people also to answer, of course.
Yeah.
Be aware of that and add in your mind the time for people to answer to your question. So don't need the answers right away. Know that you'll need the answer in 10 hours, so you'll have time there will be time for people to answer your questions. I think that's it has to be think also that way.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to our podcast about our Coil experience. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give us a like and let us know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the NEP channel for more episodes. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to bringing you more economic insights next time. Bye.